This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Two Money Moves coming at you live from downtown Las Vegas is Circa Resort and Casino. I'm Stormy Buonantony, alongside, as always, Jonathan Von Tobel. Still to come this hour. In about 15 minutes, we will look at how many of the college football early lines have already moved from yesterday's openers. We'll continue to preview Monday Night Football between the Chiefs and Jags. Chuck Esposito, Sportsbook Director, is going to join us as well a little bit later. We'll have best bets, as always, at the end of the program. But we're going to kick off this hour with some more October baseball talk. Excited to welcome in Bob Nightengale on the Progressive Guest Line, USA Today, MLB Columnist. We've got, obviously, two big game twos upon us in the NLDS. The AL has been so fun to watch already through a couple games. Bob, happy October. How have you enjoyed the early action so far?
Yeah, it's been good. I'm doing the Dodgers and the Phillies now, and, it's kind of like a year ago. Last year, the Dodgers and Padres, you kind of felt like whoever won that series is going to win the World Series. And I think the same thinking here. Whoever comes out of this one will be the clear-cut favorite to win it all.
All right, I'm curious if we saw a big win for Seattle the other day against Detroit and Skubal. What is it about Seattle that has Skubal's number? They're 3-0 against him. He's got an ERA over 4, and they might see him again in a Game 5.
Yeah, a lot of times it's just a confidence thing. Once you get a guy, then it's going to be his head in their head. But you see it throughout baseball. It's like a guy can be so good against everybody else, but you just have trouble with a particular batter or a particular team. Not that Skubal's pitching bad, but it just looks, human, when he faces those guys and not, lights out like he's against everybody else.
Do you have a gut feeling for how that series goes? Because Detroit was so good for so long. They collapsed at the end of the regular season, but are able to bounce back the way they did in the wild card against a Seattle team that I think has exceeded a lot of people's expectations. How do you see this thing going?
Yeah, my original pick was Mariners in 4. I just thought because they're on a hot streak, they're playing so well, momentum. Detroit, barely, limped in. Took everything just to get past Cleveland. So I still think Seattle is the team to beat in that series. But, so far that's been easily the best series of the 4.
Bob, let's assume, for this exercise, we'll assume the Mariners move on to the next round. What are we hearing about Brian Wu and what his status would be after he was left off the ALDS roster?
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. Probably more on the pessimistic side that, now you're talking about, not pitching a while. So, they'd have to gear him up. I would think, his availability may have to wait until the World Series if they got there. But I think it'd be tough just to throw him in there with that much time off. You can, but then you lose a guy the next round if he has to go on the injured list. Then he would automatically miss the World Series.
The Mariners are a plus 220 shot in the American League. They're 4th on the board, 6-1 to win the World Series. Let's look to that Dodgers-Phillies series, though, that you're out there for. Tonight, specifically, Blake Snell and Jesus Luzardo going head-to-head on their respective hills. The Dodgers are a slight favorite in this spot, but you mentioned the Phillies, that, the better of whoever comes out of this series could be in line to take the World Series this year. How do you see tonight, and did anything stand out to you as you were getting prepped for this game?
Well, I think the Phillies be more careful. They thought they were tipping pitches to the Dodgers, so I think the pitchers be more careful in disguising what they're about to throw. Be interesting with Blake Snell. The Phillies did not pursue him as a free agent. They just thought that he would melt down in the intensity of Philly. Such a tough place to play, and so it'd be interesting to see how he reacts to the atmosphere tonight. He has like a 4.5 ERA on the road, much better at home, but he has been pitching lights out. But it's a must-win for the Phillies. There's only 2 teams in National League Division Series history has ever come back from 0-2 in the best of 5 division series.
What have we made of and look, we're pretty soon into this postseason, but I feel like Dave Roberts deserves some credit. Like, it seems Bobby's doing everything possible to potentially avoid the bullpen, the resurgence of Roki Sasaki. What have we made of Roberts' managerial job in this short postseason stint so far?
Yeah, it's been pushing right buttons, and obviously it worked out well. There was a surprise that Glass now came in in relief the other night, and he pitched well. So, obviously, experimented in the first two games against Cincinnati in the wild card series, and that did not go well with that bullpen. So I think what they're going to do is just kind of do what the Nationals did in 2019, just rely on those starters a lot, even pitching them in relief on the days they're supposed to throw on the side. So I think that the best relievers are going to be their starters.
Is he the best manager in this field right now? And if not, who would you maybe throw in there?
No, he's fabulous. It's almost like it's impossible for him to ever win the Manager of the Year award because they're always good and they have the resources. Obviously, Pat Murphy's going to, go back-to-back here. He's going to win his second Manager of the Year award. But, yeah, with the experience and what he's done, the best winning percentage in baseball history, you got to go with Dave Roberts.
Bob Nightengale, MLB columnist, USA Today, joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line for Money Moves. The Toronto Blue Jays offense has been so hot to start this series with the Yankees. Is New York toast at this point? How do you see that series?
Well, they have to. I mean, obviously they win Game 3, but I think if they win Game 3, because then Toronto is going to the bullpen for Game 4, then you say, okay, you like your chances to at least extend to Game 5. But the way the Blue Jays, they just hit them around, it's almost like they know what's coming, with the pitches. But yeah, just two humiliations really. So, I think if the Yankees do win Game 3, they got, then they got a chance to make it a 5-game series, and then anything can happen in Game 5. But hey, the Blue Jays have been the better team all year, and they're showing now. And I think same thing. Whoever wins that series will go to the World Series. I think Toronto, is better than Seattle or Detroit.
Okay, I have a couple of things I wanted to go to here. Let's start with this, and I tend to be hyperbolic, so you're a great baseball mind. Have we seen postseasons like this where we're seeing this series with the Yankees and the Blue Jays where these young studs, we saw it in the Red Sox-Yankees series, young guys, rookies coming in and impacting series and potentially winning them because of the way they're performing? I mean, Toronto's got this kid on the hill the other day. We saw what Schlittler did for the Yankees in their first-round series against the Red Sox. It's incredible watching these young arms.
Yeah, it really is. I know, Aaron Boone was talking about that today at the press conference. So, no, I can't remember anything like this with the, two guys that making, just 4 or 5 starts. Even can throw in Mizorowski, with Milwaukee with so little experience. So, no, it's amazing how these young guys, aren't just enduring the pressure of the postseason. They're thriving in it. Those might have been the 2 best starts of the postseason so far as the young kids.
So for you, if the World Series comes down to the winner of Dodgers-Phillies and the winner of Yankees-Blue Jays, who would you most give the edge to win it all right now?
I would go the winner of the Dodgers-Phillies series. I think these are the 2 best teams. I really do. Just like last year, I thought the Dodgers and Padres are the 2 best teams in baseball. But yeah, these two are so good, so powerful. And, I think the closest competition would be with the Blue Jays. So it'd be kind of cool to see a 93 rematch, Phillies and Blue Jays. We'll see. I mean, Dodgers are as good as ever, and their starting rotation, unlike a year ago in the postseason, is lights out this year.
Bob, awesome insight as always. Don't work too hard, okay? We appreciate your time.
All right, my pleasure. Take care.
Bob Nightengale, everybody. Follow him on X as well, at B Nightengale, and all of the work, of course, over at USA Today.
Got a little bit of news for you here.
Sure.
It popped up. NFL, Thursday Night Football this week. The New York Giants will be participating in it. Jackson Dart has popped up on the injury report, limited in the estimated practice today with a hamstring injury.
I'm surprised it's not a hand injury based on that fumble.
That was incredible. I can't get over that. So you and I had watched the Bryce Young fumble, maybe 20, 30 minutes of real time prior, where he's at least under pressure and, has a guy.
And we gave him a lot of grief for that still, because we're like, how do you drop that ball?
But Dart running with the ball in open field with nobody around him, just dropping it, was incredible. And here you are, they're a 7-point dog. And you had asked this question earlier, like, hey, what would you do here? Eagles haven't really looked that great. But if Dart with that mobility might be a little limited with a hamstring, just something worth noting. Darius Slayton also with a hamstring, not practiced.
Speaking of these rookies, one of the games we didn't really talk about, because I think we talked about it so much on Sunday morning, was Dylan Gabriel making his debut. that was a tough beat. We actually did well in Circa Millions for the first time ever this week. Our one loser was the Browns plus 3.5 when they were covering the entire game. But Gabriel, for his first performance, I thought pretty solid.
I think he did everything he was asked to do and did it relatively well. You look at some of the numbers finally when you kind of get into them. He wasn't asked to do much. Averaged up the target just 6.5 yards downfield, averaged less than 6 yards per pass attempt. But, 19 to 33, you like to see the completion percentage up. Put them in position to win the game. And I think that's all you can ask for getting your first start against this defense on the road, like on foreign soil, quite literally. I think that was probably the most you could ask for him, and we'll see what he's got moving forward. But, hey, man, you gave him a shot. Your defense gets to stop, you get the win, and the defense couldn't do that.
Do we have any update on J.J. McCarthy?
I have not seen anything. I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think Minnesota has a bye. So
hoping coming out of the bye.
Yes, I could be wrong, but I believe that is the case.
Do you think that they eat a lot of hamburgers over there in London?
Maybe
not as much.
In Europe, Hamburg, Germany, I think is where it came from, right?
Oh, I guess that does check.
Yeah.
But, I mean, London and Germany aren't the same thing.
London.
But neither here nor
That's
there.
why I said Europe.
In America,
that's right.
We love a good burger. And right now, football meets flavors with Omaha Steaks Smash Burgers. And as a VSiN exclusive, you can get 15 free Smash Burgers right now with any order of $129 or more. Plus also 50% off site-wide over at omahasteaks.com/VSiN. Head over there today. Again, omahasteaks.com/VSIN. Minimum purchase may apply. See site for details. But, God, that looks good. I'm hungry. It's lunchtime for me. We got 45 more minutes, so we'll give you more sports betting content. But I am pretty hungry.
It's 12 o'clock. I think it's lunchtime for most people.
Well, we've got some lunchtime money moves for you next. And do you approve this move? Talking about some of the early movement in college football. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, back here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Oh, this is great.
Can we? See, this is one of those things where I don't know if the audience can hear it and just I can't.
They can do it. Folks, there was just this is a little bit of a discrepancy here. Let's get to it, boys and girls. Okay, never mind.
All right.
Down. Let's see where the odds are moving today, and do you approve this move?
All right, now we're really moving. We're cooking with gas here. Time for do you approve this move? Diving into some college football line movement from the openers on Sunday to where we currently sit this morning. And let's start at the top here. The Alabama Crimson Tide get a big, important win over Vanderbilt. All the talk of Diego Pavia as a dog. They get the win last year. Alabama said, not today. But yet, Missouri's getting some love in the market here early against the Tide in the follow-up game. Alabama opened a 5.5-point favorite. We're currently sitting 3 at Mizzou.
Yeah, I kind of agree with this. So this is one where, in college football all the time, it's all about the spots and the situations and what's going to happen. For Alabama, I think this is one where you're definitely going, okay, if there was going to be a situation that kind of got you, it might be something like this. You talk about the games that they just gone through to win, the Georgia victory, getting the revenge against the team that upended you the year prior in Vandy. Now you have to hit the road to take on Missouri, and Missouri defensively is one of the best teams in the country. By EPA standards, this is the 8th best defense in the country. So having to face that, an offense which by many different metrics is one of the better ones. Like, this is just a very good team that you've got to go on the road and take on after 2 really gritty, emotional games. That, to me, makes a ton of sense if you're going to, snatch some 5.5, 4.5 and get this down to the full 3.
Okay, Iowa State, pretty slow starting this past week at Cincinnati. They did wake up, made it a game, could not finish the job. They lose 38-30, their first loss of the year, 5-1 for them currently. They're on the road in Boulder coming up this weekend. Yet Colorado getting a little bit of love here as well. So Iowa State down from a 4.5-point favorite at open to 3.5, still over that key number of 3. But do you approve the move?
Okay, so I will ask you, because you've seen this team, of whether or not you approve this move, because I think Cincinnati's a very good offensive team. They showed that in the game against Iowa State, and every metric would point to that. I don't think that's the case for Colorado. I think that was the best offense that Iowa State had faced, and now this is going to be a much different thing to take on a Colorado team which has questioned its quarterback and has not been very efficient on offense. Yeah,
and I admittedly need to look a little bit closer at Colorado's game at TCU before I have a real firm opinion on this game, but I don't think that Deion Sanders likes what he has gotten out of Caden Salter to this point, and that would be a concern for me. I think Iowa State defensively is going to have some issues, though, still, with the way that their secondary has been as depleted as it is. So Colorado has the potential to score. I would look more at like a total or a half total or something like that more than I would have interest in the spread on this game. But I do lean Iowa State at blush, and I'm a little bit surprised at the line moving in Colorado's favor without me doing much research onto the last game.
And it's still key number with the hook, so it's not like it's moved dramatically. And obviously there is a difference between grabbing 4.5 and grabbing 3.5, but still there's at least the market seems to be hesitant of pushing this down any further, clearly, which is where we're at.
Meanwhile, the market is buying in on Florida coming off the big win over Texas this past weekend. They're now headed to Kyle Field to take on Texas A&M. Very hot Aggies team, mind you. But this number from 8.5 in favor of the Aggies to 7.5.
This is one. So this is going to be, I think, and I would kind of agree. The say what you want about Florida and the disappointments that they have had up to this point. Florida's been consistently solid on defense throughout this year. And so if now we're going to go and catch a key number with a defense playing at that level against a Texas A&M team that I think from an offensive standpoint do have some questions about. We'll see taking on a defense like this if those pop up. But I can understand looking at 8.5 and going, I'll take that. Again, look, not a massive difference from 8.5 to 7.5 if you're grabbing that number, so you could still play 7.5, but still, I can at least understand wanting to grab the peak of the number of what it looks like.
I want to see if we get any reports on DJ Lagway health-wise, because it did look like he got dinged up a little bit at one point. How about Dallas Wilson, though? Is this kid going to turn the season around? Is he the catalyst? I don't know. We'll see. Stanford and SMU, the Mustangs getting bet out a little bit here. Already a really big favorite at 18 at open, but now out to 19.5, 20 in the market.
I mean, I'm not going to pretend to have some big insight here for Stanford, but I will say this. So we see them 2 weeks ago take on San Jose State, and they give up like 1 billion yards. Walker Eaget looks absolutely brilliant, even though that was not a symptom of his game in the weeks leading up to it. Now for Stanford to have to make the trip out and do that with a defense that has been abysmal, I think I can understand at least betting against this team right now.
Okay, I'll batch a couple of these with you next. Nebraska and Maryland. Nebraska out from 4.5-point favorites to 6.5. And then a battle of the undefeateds in the Big Ten. Indiana at Oregon. Oregon was a double-digit favorite at open. Now down to 7.5, with Indiana getting a lot of love here. That offense has been potent. Do you approve the move? What do you think?
So for both of them, Nebraska, Maryland, not that big of a deal. You go from 4.5 to 6.5, you're still under 7.
Dead number area.
Yeah, whatever. Who cares too much about that? For Indiana and Oregon, this is, hey man, we talked about this with Indiana last year. Indiana was beating up on bad teams when they ran into the big boys. It looked very different. And this is now the big boy, and whether or not you're going to be able to hang inside of this number. And I don't know. What do we take from Oregon? I thought it was a very impressive win to go out there and take on Penn State and win the way they did. Now that looks less impressive after what just happened. Do we react too much to that? I think that this is obviously a very big test, and I can understand, again, now there is a difference between the folks who took 10 and now all the way the number subsequently through. So if you took 10, I think I totally understand it. But now you're sitting here 7.5. Again, key number, but much different from where you opened, obviously.
Fernando Mendoza, by the way, no longer the favorite in the Heisman Trophy odds. That is Dante Moore at 6-1. Mendoza, a 14-1 shot in the market. Meanwhile, you watch a lot of Mountain West football. You made a comment to me about UNLV yesterday. I'm curious if you want to stand by it here. Air Force at UNLV. Rebels from 7-point favorites down to 5.5.
I mean, I'm clearly not alone in trying to take my shots against this UNLV team. This is the, I think, 3rd or 4th straight week where the market has moved against them. So there is a thought out there that, hey, man, like this team is not as good as they have looked. Defensively, they have not looked as good.
How many bets have you lost fading them?
I want to say 3. Let's see. I had Sam Houston, Wyoming. There's another one in there. They didn't, or excuse me, I actually bet them in the Sam Houston game. So it was the games in between. I'll have to think. My mind is mush. But yes. Get the schedule so we can recap the games in which I've lost.
Miami, Ohio.
Yeah, I mean,
that was the one. That was a dagger.
That one, too.
That was brutal.
Think about dodging raindrops the way this UNLV team has, at least in terms of failing to cover the number. The kid is on a breakaway. There's an open field. And much like we're talking about, Jackson Dart fumbles it. Miami, Ohio is on the verge of winning that game. They end up losing it. So this team has been getting away with it. Having said that, not a short week, but on a week to get ready for a Service Academy opponent that's always pretty tough, I can understand at least taking 7. Again, this is where the big difference is. I think I approved taking 7, but once you get to like that 6.5, 6, 5.5, then you're like, all right, what's the point? But I can't disagree. I mean, I think they've been kind of getting away with murder.
And it's interesting for people that haven't watched a lot of Mountain West football and you're just like looking at the records and you're like UNLV 5-0, Air Force a 1-4 team. Why is this number moving against them? All of what JVT laid out is why. Purdue, Minnesota. Minnesota was a 10.5-point favorite at open, down to 7.5. And then how about the UCLA Bruins, fresh off the biggest upset of the year against Penn State at Michigan State. This spread was 8.5 at open, but UCLA after the win getting a little bit of early love. We're at 7.5.
I'm surprised. I would assume that this is many. Tim Murray's really good at the situational stuff. This has to be letdown
spot
central.
all over it, on the road.
Dad's crying in the studio watching his kid get carried off.
Dude, okay, that was, come on, you have to admit, it's a cool moment. It's a cool moment. Do you not love that kind of stuff?
No. As a father, I wouldn't even. Yes, of course it's cool. Yes, I understand.
As a father, I hate when people are happy about their children's accomplishments. My God.
I'd be rooting against my child every step of the way.
I agree, though. I think letdown spot.
It seems like a pretty big letdown spot.
I don't like Michigan State either, but UCLA was not a good football team.
Yeah, so I would agree. Now, again, 8.5, 7.5, not a really big move. So.
All right, Georgia at Auburn, UGA from 4.5 down to 3.5, so still over the key number of 3.
Yeah, makes sense. Grab 4.5. We'll see if Georgia can do it. I mean, obviously, very interesting game. How you fare in the role of a road favorite against a plucky Auburn team that I could see push you, but again, 4.5. He's at a 3.5, still over key number.
And then our Stormy games of the week: San Diego State from a 4-point favorite to 7 at Nevada, and then the game I'll be on the sideline for come Saturday night: Arizona State at Utah. The Utes out from 4.5 to 5.5 point favorites.
All right, well, I'll ask you. I mean, the Utah 4.5 to 5.5, whatever. San Diego State.
I'm annoyed this has gotten out so much because I wanted to bet them.
Yeah, like this is such an interesting game from the standpoint of the Aztecs. They go out to NIU and they win and cover an ugly game, 6-3.
What a joke of a game that was.
In fact, I believe you can pull up the schedule for me. They have covered 3 straight, I believe, now at this point. It was the Cal game. It was actually it might be 4 because it was Stony Brook, Cal.
No, because they lost Washington State.
Yes,
yeah, but
so
it
was 3 straight. So it's Cal.
They beat up on Cal despite being a double-digit dog in that game.
Northern Illinois.
They covered the 2.5 at NIU despite it being a freaking 6-3 ball game, mind you. And then CSU, they had a big win, put up 45 points on the Rams.
I will say, because I think Nevada is a very well-coached team despite the results not really being there. And I think a lot of that on Friday night had more to do with Colorado State, a team that I don't like at all. On their backup quarterback, had just changed their playing caller, is clearly reeling, than it had to do with San Diego State. So I got to say, you give me a full 7 with Nevada at home, I think we might be involved in the second Stormy Bowl here.
If we were sub 7, I would lay it. But at 7 or beyond, I have to stay away from it. I do not believe in SDSU. I've told you that repeatedly, but I don't think Nevada's a good football team either.
How dare you.
They are at home, though. This
to
game is out there in Reno, so keep that in mind. Okay, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we're going behind the counter. How about what was going on in Wyoming? The hailstorm. Yeesh.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
On this Monday edition of Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Got a loaded deck of things to get into. We've got Monday Night Football upon us as we wrap up Week 5 in the NFL, bunch of college football chaos, and it is time to go behind the counter with Chuck Esposito.
Where are the lines changing? And where's the money going? Let's go behind the counter.
Very fortunate to have our good buddy Chuck Esposito, Red Rock Race and Sportsbook Director, joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Chuck, let's get into the weekend. We were talking about it earlier. The outright upsets for underdogs across the board in the NFL. We have not seen a week like this yet in the NFL. It's been a while since we've seen a week like this. In general, how did you guys make out?
You can see me pumping my fist in the air right now. I wish you could. It was comeback Sunday. I mean, it didn't look good early in the day, but, man, with the Panthers, Broncos, Saints, Titans, Commanders all coming back from double-digit deficits and winning those games, yay, sportsbooks. I can't remember the last day we had like that in quite some time, but overall a really good day from our side of the counter, Stormy.
Yeah. It's really good to hear. I was crying last weekend knowing that maybe the sportsbooks were struggling, Chuck, so it's very good to hear. But I'm curious.
I figured you were, JVT. I figured you were.
But to that point, so the weeks leading up to this, because we had so many straight-up winners, Survivor here, all these top teams were moving on. How had the season been leading up to this last week of NFL action?
It's actually been pretty good. I mean, if you think back a few weeks ago, you had the Browns beat the Packers. You had the Giants beat the Chargers. We just kind of need that one or two outright dog to win that's more than a 3-point underdog, which last year, I think from about week 11 on, we never saw that. It was just dominated by favorites. Money lines, teasers did so well. This year we've seen a little bit more parity, and 2 of the last 3 weeks have been really good from our side of the counter, but we're always looking for at least one of those big upsets. But anytime you get multiple dogs to win outright, it's usually a good day industry-wide for our side of the counter.
Yeah, that paired with, I feel like every week I'm seeing like the most bet sides of the week, and it's 1 in 4 for the top 5 plays, or they go 0 for. So yeah, the sports books, I think you guys have been doing okay overall. Let's shift gears to Monday Night Football coming up tonight. Where do you guys sit over there at Red Rock on the number? Are you 3.5 like we've seen so much of to this point? And where is the action coming in most?
Yeah, we do sit at 3.5. There was a little sharp money early on the Jags. 70% of the ticket count is on the Chiefs in this game. 82% of the ticket count is on the over. With all the carryover from the weekend, of course, either way with the Chiefs is not a black number for our side of the counter. But really the Jags either way is good right now. So a lot of stuff got knocked down, which usually isn't the case going into Monday night, especially if it's a favorite-dominated weekend. But in this particular case, not bad at all. We might be in a really good spot by the time it kicks. But we are clearly Jags fans right now, guys.
Any notable action on some of your props out there, Chuck?
No, nothing really that jumps off the page for tonight's games. I think the big thing is that the demise of the Chiefs was greatly exaggerated with the struggles of the Chargers the last couple of weeks. We know the Broncos are playing well. They beat the Eagles, but had a couple of kind of bad losses in there too. The Chiefs are right in the thick of it right now, and we talk about all these other teams before the season starts. The Ravens, injury-riddled, really struggling. The Bills get beat last night, and somehow I have this feeling come January we're still going to be talking about the Chiefs. Yet they're just 6-12 their last 18 games, guys, against the number. But they are 4-1 against the number their last 5 games against Jacksonville. Jacksonville comes in 5-1 against the number their last 6 games. Yet they're catching 3.5. That big hook here at home on Monday night.
Chuck Esposito, the race and sportsbook director over at the Red Rock in Summerlin, joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. We also have 2 big National League Division Series that roll on today, 2 big game 2s. And we were talking earlier about how this Philadelphia Phillies team seems to be getting a little bit of love in the market, taking on Blake Snell and the Dodgers today. Where are you seeing the money come in? And any play on this total as well at 7.5?
Yeah, I mean, they're getting a little bit of love, guys, but, I mean, we were clearly both Cub and Philly fans in Game 1. So especially from the Philly side of it, we did not need the Dodgers. Our local guests, and with our close proximity to Southern California, they are always backing the Dodgers. Dodgers are minus $1.15 favorite here. So we're still going to be Phillies fans when this game goes at about 3 o'clock our time this afternoon. Late game, Cubs are, they're almost $1.40 underdog in this game against Milwaukee. We know the history of the 2 managers. Cubs didn't seem ready for Game 1. They need to bounce back here with Eminaga, and they're catching a decent price here at a plus price against the Brewers.
How do you feel about your Cubs, Chuck?
I'm a little bit nervous, but I think if they can get this one in, I think it'll be a really good series. They might get Cade Horton back for potentially a Game 5 or 6, or a Game 5, I should say, if it goes that far. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I'd love to see him win this game, guys.
Any big division price liability for any of the 4 games over at Red Rock?
No, nothing really big. We did see some guests that really did back Toronto a little bit, and they were absolutely right in that series against the Yankees. We were Tiger fans, too, so, having the Mariners come back and win that game yesterday hurt a bit. But that's really kind of where we're at right now overall. But it's been a really good handle the weekend with not only college football and pro football and baseball, as you mentioned. We had Power Slap, UFC, the WNBA finals, just a fun weekend from our side of the counter.
Chuck, I'm curious, actually, I'm glad you mentioned the WNBA finals, because I think if people didn't realize they were buried on this last Sunday. But have you seen anything? Is it just hometown support for the Aces? And from a liability standpoint overall, with the way this WNBA season is broken down, did it help that all of these big teams were knocked out due to injuries or whatever else it was?
Unfortunately, JVT, that wasn't the case. So we're not in a good spot with either the Aces or the Mercury. I think you look for more value, and there was a lot of people that, because of the short price on the Lynx and the Liberty, they looked for like the next teams up. Aces always get that local play. We got a lot of play on the Mercury. The one thing that's really hurt us in the first two games, first game fell on the number, which was okay, but it's the total. We've seen dramatic movement on the total. Both games went sailing over the first two games here in Vegas, and overall our guests and bettors did really well on the total in game one and game two in Vegas.
So how do you adjust those then moving forward to the series out there in Phoenix?
Well, I can tell you that, the first game we opened the total 160.5, and we saw where that one went. This total was opened a lot higher in this game. It was opened at 165.5, and our bettors and our guests said, wait a minute, that's maybe a little bit too much of an adjustment, and we've seen that total come down now 1.5 to the current number of 164.
All right, Chuck, let's look ahead to next week in the National Football League. Just in general, have you seen anything with these early numbers now up on Monday?
Have, JVT. We've seen this Colts-Cardinals game go up. It's a game that I think is going to hit 7 sometime early this week. Such a bad loss for the Cardinals yesterday. That play at the goal line, DeMarcado, they go up from potentially being up 28-6. All the momentum in a game they're going to win to only being up 21-6. It changed everything in that game. They were so flat after that, and it's a Colts team at 4-1 right now. Looks like, wow, did they make the right decision with Daniel Jones? They're a really good team right now. They're playing well. They're a confident bunch. Tough spot for Arizona. We've seen pretty much one-sided play in favor of the Colts early on, and some Ram money, too, has shown. I think it's just a product of how beat up the Ravens are. But everything's going to take kind of second fiddle, I think, to the Sunday night game, guys. Lions-Chiefs, they played a few years ago on that opening Thursday night where Detroit went into Kansas City and won. Kansas City sits a 1-point favorite, but we're starting to see some Lion money show. It wouldn't surprise me, even if the Chiefs look good tonight, that we end up needing the Chiefs again at home on Sunday Night Football in Week 6.
Has any team had a bigger change of fate from Week 1 to Week 5 than the Detroit Lions based on what we saw in that opener? My goodness.
Yeah, I think, they had lost both coordinators going into the season. There was some question marks there. They didn't look good in that game, and you're right, Stormy, but they look like the same Lions now. There's trickeration on offense. They're running the ball well. Defense is starting to play a little bit better. They're a confident bunch. They really are what their coach is in Campbell. They're just that kind of freelance team that goes out there and just doesn't care. They just keep their foot on the gas the entire game. That's why I think we're going to see the public, again, even if the Chiefs do well tonight, back the Lions next week.
Have you or when will you make the Colts the favorite to win the Super Bowl?
They're really good, JVT, and in that division, it's a really winnable division for them. It's still a long season, but hey, I like this team a lot. I mean, they seem to be so much different with Danny Dimes. They've got really good skill position players in Jonathan Taylor and Pittman at wideout and Pearson Downs, and then adding Warren to the mix. They're in a good spot. Texans come away with a win yesterday. Titans won yesterday. Jags are just 3-1, but you just look at how good these Colts are. And you know who leads the AFC in points scored this year? It's the Indianapolis Colts. More points than the Bills, more points than the Ravens. They've just been offensive dynamo so far with Daniel Jones, and they lead the AFC in points for so far through the first 5 weeks of the season.
Great stuff, as always. Appreciate you, Chuck. Thanks for this.
All right, guys, take care.
You go by Indiana Jones now. I'll let it slide this time.
Daniel Jones, third most pass yards in the NFL, just like everybody had it through 5 weeks. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, we're wrapping up this Monday edition of Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. SiriusXM Channel 158, YouTube TV, iHeartRadio, the VSiN Watch app, any of our great affiliates. We appreciate you holding it down with us today. I'm Stormy Buonantony. He's JVT. Let's get some final thoughts on Monday Night Football, shall we? As the Kansas City Chiefs remain 3.5-point favorites, taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars today. Total sitting pretty at 45.5.
Okay, so one of the things that I forgot to bring up that I just wanted to, I'm going to pull a Stormy here and just talk, but really have no angle and whatsoever. Like you like
Thanks
to
for
talk.
that.
You like to
I
talk. No,
appreciate
you like to
it.
talk things out.
I appreciate it.
You like to talk things
I do.
out. Yeah. Okay. That's what I'm trying to
but
say.
you don't. That's not the way you should put it.
Okay. How should I put
That's
it?
rude.
You're rude.
I think it's fine to say we like to have a conversation.
There we go,
like to see if we can get pulled in a different direction. I'm going to talk aimlessly like my co-host does.
In what show? You talking about your producer when you're out there on the road?
No, I'm talking about what you just said to me. All right, go on. Make your point. Or
perfect.
lack thereof, because apparently
That's
there's
right.
not going to be one.
Brian Thomas Jr. If you remember in the football futures draft that we had, I took the longest shot on the board for Brian Thomas Jr. to be the league receiving leader.
Okay.
That is not going to happen, or at least he is not on pace to do so. Through 4 games, BTJ has 164 yards receiving. He has yet to catch a touchdown. He has 12 receptions through these contests. Now, it's been a little bit better over the last game, but that's about it. 5 receptions, a season high so far. The reason why I bring this up is I'm curious if the market is getting similar to what we talked about with Trevor Lawrence. Are we getting too low for Brian Thomas Jr.? Receiving yards prop today set at 56.5. Is it time to buy low on BTJ? That is the question.
Well, you tell me.
That's why I wanted to ask it. I'm talking it out. I just wonder if that's the case. I mean, we're seeing, so again, the targets are kind of there. I mean, he's got 31 targets through the first 4 games, and yet the total receptions really haven't been there. Again, hasn't been much explosiveness here when you're talking about, explosive plays, yards. If you're looking at yards per route run, just 1.17, so under 1.2, not particularly great. So I do wonder if maybe this is one of those, hey, let's try to get him going. We need to feed him a little bit more, get him out in space and get there. But he has not gone over this set number for him at all this year. So I do wonder if there's going to be a point, maybe it's not here today, to potentially get in that direction. I mean, we see the graphic that we have here. If you watch it up at vsin.com, I assume, Crew, we put these together, and they're not live because he's down to 56.5 right now. So the market is even knocking this down further than what we at least have to this point. So
They actually have, according to ESPN Stats and Info that I just pulled up, 38% completion rate for Lawrence to Brian Thomas, lowest of any QB receiver tandem in the league.
Yeah. Like, reception rate's really low. Through the first 3, he was barely catching a third of his targets, not even. And then this last game, that's why I say it got a little bit better.
Yeah.
On 7 targets, he had 5 receptions. So the reception rate against your 49ers at least got better. He was catching a higher rate of his targets. So maybe that's a sign of things to come.
Okay, so maybe today is the day. That said, while that is a maybe, you do have a couple official plays that you want to get in today. So let's dive in. GBank, of course, our sponsor for our best bets, as they are every day. And right now you can earn $50 in cashback reward bonus once you're approved and your account is open with the GBank Visa Signature Card. Most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances, even when it's your own money. GBank treats them as regular purchases. That means no cash advance fees, saves you 3 to 5% on every deposit. Plus, you'll earn 1% cash back on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions, 2% cash back on everything else you buy. You can apply now at vsin.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. And maybe before we get to those plays, throw up the recap graphic from the weekend. 6-3 this week for you. So we'll see if we can close out the week 5 NFL, week 6 college football with some more dubs. We'll get to that in a moment. Don't worry.
So you notice what I'm noticing right now?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
I'm distracted by something outside of the studio.
Focus here. But overall, how'd you like your weekend? And then where are you placing your money today?
My weekend was fine. You could always be better. Was I perfect? No. So it can be better. But hey, the thing for me was, for somebody who couldn't pick his nose in college, at least we got through the week.
Yeah.
And
You had a really good college football week.
The New Mexico doesn't get there, but Duke to me, for some reason, I was putting a lot of emotional weight on, because you and I think we're a little at odds with the way we thought it could potentially go. I was at odds with some of the folks in our very network as well. So the fact that Duke got off to the start they did, and I'm like, this is happening again. And then eventually they came back, and it was fine.
A 21-7 game early
I
for
thought we were going to get
Cal.
smoked.
And then, boy, did that change on its head.
So, yes, the finally put that down. You see a shot go down, if you will, in college football was great. So on to this week. We move on. We persevere for perfection. Added a couple for this week in the National Football League. First off, the long shot play, the future added into the portfolio. Baker Mayfield at 12-1 to win MVP. It's what we talked about, and call me crazy, and I will put my backing here. So I have 2 MVP bets now, and they both went head-to-head yesterday. Sam Darnold at 80-1, and now Baker Mayfield at 12-1. I'll take 12-1 on a dude that's got the resume already that he has at this point. And who knows? Like, maybe it's Fugazi, maybe they're a thin team. I think that they're a team that can still take advantage of their schedule. We've gone over this when we talked about them potentially with a dalliance, if you will, for a 1 seed, and that's something I still have that's alive as well. Baker Mayfield and the Bucs at a 17-1 to be the number 1 seed. So Baker Mayfield MVP, 12-1. Added 2 for next week. So you and I were talking about this. I guessed Browns catching 3.5 was my projection for the Steelers matchup this coming week. It is 5.
Yeah.
And that's not something I think I would agree with, given what we know about this Browns defensive front, what they can potentially do against the Steelers team that I don't think is particularly solid in their resume as a 3-1 team. So give me the Browns +5 this weekend and the Titans +5.5. They're on the road for 1 more week here in Sin City against the Las Vegas Raiders. This Raiders team stinks. They are not well coached, surprisingly enough, with the high-energy 70-year-old and Pete Carroll. Did you see his answers yesterday?
Yeah, he was very unhappy.
Unhappy, but he was asked, why didn't you put in Kenny Pickett? And his response was, we needed more practice.
We need more reps.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you mean you need more reps? And then, by the way, you say you need more reps, and this is totally personal, as we talked about the in-game bets that we had. You're inside the red zone with the potential to score, and you give up with your timeouts and just run the clock out. You also need more reps, and yet you ran out to kick a field goal down 40-3. Okay. I think this team's an absolute mess at this point right now. They're banged up. They're injured. The offensive line stinks. So give me the Titans +5.5 this weekend against the Raiders.
I could see either one of those games, if not both, ultimately ending up as teaser legs for me this week, bringing those up another 6 points. I don't hate the thought process on either one of them. I don't have anything in hand for today, but you did lay it with Kansas City, correct?
Oh, yes, that too. Totally forgot. Yes, I want to have a bet tonight, so let's do that. Kansas City Chiefs -3.5 will be the sweat for me later this evening against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I didn't make anything official. I lean under in the game for what it's worth, so we'll see how that plays out. I had a 6-3 weekend as well. The college football went 2-1. I love you, Rich Bontoni. That's my father, by the way, giving me so much grief for my college football plays because he bet my Boise State Notre Dame first quarter bet, and he was like, oh, man, well, that was an early loser. It's like, yeah, but I went 2-1. Like, I won the other 2 college football bet. Didn't bet those. That's not my problem, Rich, okay? So we went 2-1 in the college football. The 2 of the 3 NFL teasers came through. The Giants +8, wrecked the third, which was unfortunate. We laddered Breece Hall, talked about that with Warren Sharp on the Countdown to Kickoff show, which kudos to him. 5 weeks in the NFL, 5 weeks in a row that his best play has come through. So make sure you keep tuned in to the Pro Football Tailgate Show and Countdown to Kickoff on Sundays. Lots of great content coming through. Daniel Jones over pass yards did not come through, but a good season throughout to this point. Last couple minutes here, especially because we do have Mitch and Paul that are coming on next, sitting here in the desk. Could not help but notice you're going to have a very nice surprise in the appearance of Paulie Howard when he sits down in this chair.
Maybe they're doing something, so we don't want to ruin it. So.
It's a good note, though, for the Connor McDavid contract that did get signed earlier this morning. We didn't talk about that, but huge news for the Edmonton Oilers that McDavid re-signs 2-year extension for them. So it's not the length that any of these other teams, had he gone to free agency, would have fought for, obviously. Huge discount that he took, 2-year, $25 million, when he could have. We just saw Kirill Kaprizov sign an 8-year contract where he's getting $17 a season. And so for Edmonton to get this done and for him to continue to want to pursue a Stanley Cup trophy with the Oilers is huge. They are 4-1 to be the West representative in the Stanley Cup again this year. Third on the board to win it all, +850, favored over the Vegas Golden Knights in the Western Conference and in the Pacific Division.
So he was on an expiring this year, correct? So this is for the next 2 years after this season.
He was poised to potentially hit free agency, and I think 31 teams wish he would.
Well, I think we did. That was us, right? And I know Dave and Jensen talked to the guy. Wasn't there a reporter on with Dave and Jensen, and we played the clip here too during the postseason that thought Now that's going to be it. He's out. So
a lot of talk about Toronto as a
Yes.
potential spot, being from the area. And so for Edmonton to lock that down, at least to give them a chance with this roster that they currently have constructed, fight for it with McDavid is huge.
So the magnitude of this signing is big.
It's big.
Okay. All right.
Very big.
I'm asking you. You're the pro.
That's a great note.
Tomorrow.
So tomorrow is opening night in the National Hockey League. We will break down what is a big 3-game slate coming up tomorrow. Also, the NBA betting guide coming out tomorrow. So we'll get some conversation with you
NHL
on
just
that,
can't have its day.
Which it just can't. What is this? Neither can the WNBA. What are we doing?
We got a 50-1 award on a market that I absolutely hate to discuss.
That's a wrap for us today on Money Moves. Thanks for hanging out. Mitch and Paulie coming up next with Follow the Money. VSiN Primetime and Cashing Out on the way as well. Have a good one. Good luck with your bets.